Recently, I had to let go of my office. So a few months ago, I got a letter telling me that a new company had bought my office building. And I didn't think of anything at first, but then I started hearing rumors that they were not going to renew any more leases, especially these small business leases such as mine. And I found out what they were going to do is that they were going to gut each floor and knock out all these kind of one room, two room offices and just gut it so that they would just rent out like the whole floor for these bigger companies and corporations. And so it was a kind of an interesting timing when all this happened. So one way that it was good was that since I put a pause on my practice after receiving the diagnosis, and so therefore I was still paying rent even though I wasn't using my office, and therefore losing money. And so the good part was that I talked to the management, and they said that I could get out of my lease early, and which saved me a couple months of rent. And the challenging part was that I had to let go of my office sooner than expected. And also, I didn't have a place to work when, in the future for when I am ready to go back to work. And this is like really, really challenging for me because for 43 years of my life, or at least since I've been in school and have worked, I've been very, very ambitious and very goal oriented. So I'd have a goal, visualize it, map it out, have have all the steps, and I would just hustle. So for example, before I went to graduate school, it took me 8 years to figure out what I want to do with my life. But then once I figured out, I want to get into the healing arts, and I applied to graduate school in psychology. Once I did that, I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to have my own private practice in the center of downtown San Francisco, and that was my goal. That was my vision, and everything just oriented around that. So I first entered my graduate school at ITP, the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, as a PhD student, and quickly I learned that I can do actual therapy without a PhD, that I can do it with a master's. And so once I heard that, I had to check my ego and see what I really wanted to do. And I didn't really want to do research, and I didn't really want to be a professor, but I was really interested in being a therapist. And so I dropped out of the PhD program and transferred into the master's program. And once I did that, I also found out that my school was not going to teach me anything about business. And so in between my first and second year of graduate school, I went into an intensive coaching program because I wanted to start working right away and to start understanding the basics of business. And so I started a website, a Yelp page. I started to do some marketing, and I started to have a couple clients, coaching clients, and that helped me to just begin my business before I became a licensed therapist. What I also found out that I didn't know before I applied was that I couldn't practice therapy right away. That actually, after that, first I have to do 2 years of graduate school and get a master's in clinical psychology. But then after that, I had to do 3,000 hours of supervised work. And that means that not all my work, but only most of the hours only counted about the therapy time, the time that I was doing counseling. Also, during this internship period, is that most internships are either not paid or paid very little. However, I was fortunate at the time to be living with my at my parents' house, and so I didn't have to get a second job and able to survive, and so I can just completely focus in on my internship hours. And there's a requirement that you have to be an intern for at least 2 years to accumulate 3,000 hours. Well, I was so focused that I got my hours in less than 2 years. So that kind of gives you an idea about how ambitious and how focused I can be. So letting go of my office is a big deal because one, it's like it's my identity. It's a big part of my identity as a therapist, as a coach, as a healer. Once I got this office in downtown, that I was starting to accumulate and started to decorate my office just the way that I wanted to, because so much from graduate school and all my internships, I was using other people's offices, and I just didn't feel like an adult, or I didn't feel like a bona fide therapist until I had my office with my things on it, with my degrees and my coffee cup and all that. And so I had my office to a place where I pretty much wouldn't change anything. Where just, over the years, I had the art pieces that I wanted, I had the furniture I wanted. It was designed and organized in the way where it felt like me, and it provided a great, healing space for my clients. And so letting that go was really difficult and challenging for me, that I didn't have this resource anymore, that once I get past cancer, I don't have a home. And yes, I know that I can work in other people's offices. I can get a part-time office. Like, that's not necessarily a big deal for me, but the big deal of just like letting go of this identity, and not only that, is letting go of a certain idea. So a couple weeks back in my therapy, my therapist asked me this question: Kirk, what do you need to do to stay on this planet, to live? And what came to me were two images. The first image was this fiery stake in the ground, and the other image was this meandering wild river. And I told my therapist, in order for me to live, I need to let go of the bias of the fiery stake in the ground. And I need to be more like the river. And that's just a very scary concept for me, because all my working life, it's about really having that clear goal and just doing what it takes to get to that goal. But now, with my office gone, that stake is gone. That stake is removed, and I don't have a place. And I'm transitioning into this other space around not needing a space, not needing a place. And so it's a philosophical level, and now I'm working through, so it gets down to the cellular level, about being more like the river. That this is taking tremendous trust and faith, that when I'm ready to work and I'm ready to do that next thing, that next step will show. Where previously I would do everything that I could to actually know what that next step is and plan for it and to have it set up before I make that next step. But what cancer is challenging me, and what cancer is teaching me, is to really be present and really have faith that I'm actually held by the universe, and that the next step will show. And it's definitely been a process for me to really integrate that. And what I have seen, and what I'm trying to integrate more, is that life has always been there for me. That next step has always been there for me. And I really got to do this this re-education of my mind, that I have to know, because even with this cancer diagnosis, is that the next step showed itself, and life keeps meeting me. That look at the opportunity, look at the timing that my building was bought, and so that therefore, I don't have to pay rent while I'm not using it. If the building wasn't bought, then maybe I would have prolonged letting go of my office and just kept losing money just because of wanting that security of having a place to work when I'm done. But this could be, let's say, a year from now, and I would just be losing all that rent. But the universe is saying, hey, Kirk, we're going to help you out here. And we're going to help you out, and this is the circumstance, and we're going to let you be able to be out of your office. I think also, like the GoFundMe campaign, I'm getting met hugely and giving me the finances to not worry so much about getting to work right away. And I feel very blessed and fortunate, where if I didn't have that, I think it'd be really challenging, just to know that, oh man, I have to go back to work sooner than I'm actually, ready to actually be with my clients. So this is teaching me the principle of really being present. And actually there's no other way that I actually can be. And what I mean by that is that these first 2 months have just been really, really challenging. So you see me on camera, and when I'm doing these videos, I'm in a good mood, and sometimes not a good mood, but I actually have energy. But sometimes, a lot of times, like why it's taking me so long to do this video is I've just felt like crap, and I've had no energy. I've just been in bed, especially with the blood clots. I've been in pain, and that pain just overrides everything and anything. Yesterday I got a liver biopsy, and I was on so much pain medication. In the hospital, they had me for 5 hours after the biopsy, and I just had a hard time trying to stay awake, even to watch TV. And when I got home, same thing. I can barely just, barely stay awake. And so again, that's just teaching me that I can't plan ahead, and all I can do is just be in this moment. And that's really hard, because especially when I want to try to plan things, or friends want to come and visit, and that's really hard because I don't know how I'm going to do this weekend. I don't know how I'm going to be next week. I don't know what new side effects is going to come up and just kind of ruin all my plans. So what's been really helpful with people trying to visit, and also to kind of prep people, is to kind of give me that space that I can cancel the day of, because I really never know how I'll be feeling the next day. And what I've really learned about being present is that this is actually the only place that life actually exists, or to say it differently, where experience actually exists. When I'm being present in the moment, this is where I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch. This is where all the memories are going to happen, when I'm fully experiencing what is in the moment. When I'm using the present tense to worry about the future, or planning for the future, I'm not actually present with what's happening right now. Or when I'm worried about the past and what I've said or what I've done, I'm not actually here to experience what's actually happening in the moment. And so it's helping me to really try to be more present with just what is, because the more that I'm actually able to experience what is in the moment, then the better then later on, I'm actually better able to relive those moments and those memories and those good times. So it's just been, a real big lesson. I think the hardest thing about being present, though, is when I'm experiencing pain. And those are the moments I actually don't want to be present and just want to check out. And so I'm still trying to figure out how to be with pain. But I think the biggest lesson is just to really slow down and just appreciate this moment and just living for this moment. And that's it. Because, I might be feeling great. And so if I am, it's like, okay, really take this opportunity to really live that moment, because the next moment I might not be. And I might be checked out. I might be in pain. I might be, itchy or feeling nauseous. And so I keep learning that lesson. Kirk, be present. Kirk, be present. Just stay with this present moment and this experience. So I hope that that's also something that you can bring into your lives as well, is to just stay more and more present. Thank you.